Buckle your heart, people. Listen, this episode is really slightly different than something so tangible like sets and repetitions and the exercise you should do or the protein you should take. And for that reason, it's probably exactly what you need. You know, so many times with exercise, reaching for exercise and looking for the exercise or the nutrition, and I really hesitated right then to use the four-letter word diet. But in this instance, I mean the dietary changes and reaching for those to put a Band-Aid on, frankly, some of the other things that are there as obstacles and maybe as lessons for us to get through and get to, because we can't go over them or around them. We can't get over them and just pretend they're not there. So if you're finding that you're stuck, that your exercise alone or dietary changes alone are not helping you get where you want to go, it always comes back to emotion. Sometimes it's childhood trauma, and it's not my place or my expertise to dive into that. But it is my awareness as a counselor and as a psychologist to dive into those things and know when potentially it's the next step. And so many times in women in midlife, it is. We've been through a lot by the time we've gotten here. And that makes us stronger, it makes us tougher, but sometimes it also has made us bury those things to get on with what we needed to get on with. And you find yourself in that situation. Nothing you're doing is actually working. And you know that there's maybe some deeper work to do beyond your deadlifts and your chest press and your bent over rows. Then this episode and my guest is for you. I'm Deborah Atkinson. You're listening to Flipping 50, where I address your top struggles and challenges, and I share with you what to eat, how to move, and how to change your mindset. And this episode is all about that, so that you can have the energy and the vitality that you want, need, and deserve in this second and better half. And today's episode is brought to you by the Flipping 50 Fitness Specialist. If you are a trainer or a health coach and you are looking to be the expert for menopause fitness online, in your own community, or in your local literal community, I'm going to put the link in the show notes, and we've got some upcoming workshops that you don't want to miss if you're trying to make a comeback or just get a quick, fresh start on a brand new business right now. All right, let's dive in.
Dr. Shiroko Sokitch is a doctor who cares about you. The owner of Heart to Heart Medical Center in Santa Rosa, California since 1993, Dr. Shiroko is an expert at using many modalities to bring your body to balance and wholeness. Her specialty is healing when it seems impossible. She brings hope and healing to difficult health conditions by blending Chinese and Western medicine with a deep spiritual and emotional healing approach. Trained in general surgery and working as an emergency room doctor for 10 years while attending acupuncture school gave Dr. Shiroko a broad range of medical experience. Her new book, Healing When It Seems Impossible: 7 Keys to Defy the Odds, a book about her unique and comprehensive healing approach, is available on Amazon. She's the owner of Heart to Heart Medical Center in Santa Rosa, California since 1993, and she is the expert when it comes to kind of pulling in this diverse range of modalities. Her specialty is about bringing all of that together for her clients and patients. She brings hope and healing to difficult health conditions by blending Chinese and Western medicine with a deep spiritual and emotional healing approach. Shiroko, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. It's so fun to be.
Okay. Yeah. So I really want to dive into this area that, I think listeners are they're on the cusp or the edge of knowing there's got to be more for them than the Western medicine choices that they've been presented with for so very long, and yet not necessarily knowing when and what to pull in, what pieces are appropriate for them. So glad that we're unpacking all of this. And I want to kind of unpack the title of your book, the title and subtitle both. I mean, first of all, what are the quote unquote odds? So defying the odds is in your title. What are those odds?
Well, most of my patients come to me because they've been seeing a lot of different doctors for various health conditions that don't seem to have a diagnosis. So a lot of the people that I work with have issues that are quite mysterious or don't have an answer, or they've been offered drugs in a place where maybe they don't feel like they want to take a drug, or they've been told they're crazy when they're not crazy and they know it, So the odds are that wherever you are in your journey of healing, the odds are that if you're stuck in a certain place, the defying the odds is we can get you unstuck. So
Sweet.
it's the idea of finding answers that are not necessarily in the conventional range or even in the functional medicine range sometimes. So
Okay, so let's unpack this. So what are the keys? What are those 7 keys?
the 7 keys are maybe a little different than things you've heard before, because a lot of times people don't hear about the spiritual and emotional components. So first I want to just talk a little bit about Chinese medicine and how I blend Chinese and Western medicine so that people can understand it. And then I'll talk about the 7 keys. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
So Chinese medicine is based on the idea that you're made up of energy, and energy travels through your body in certain patterns. And when it's out of balance, there are problems. So the whole premise in Chinese medicine is, how do you find balance? And the way the organs work is different than they work in Western medicine, so that there's this broader range of ability to look at problems. And when I first started studying Chinese medicine, it was in the 80s, believe it or not. and and we often had patients who came in and we do whatever the best of medicine that we could do, and it still didn't help. And the cool thing about Chinese medicine is that there was a new way for me to look at things so that I could understand their condition from a different perspective. And that's kind of what I've based my whole practice on. And over the year, in the 90s, we started having functional medicine and more ability to test things that were sort of outside of the Western medicine perspective. So we have a broader range now. So I've blended both Chinese and functional medicine together to find answers where it appears there are none. So, so that's the Chinese medicine plus functional medicine picture. And the whole idea is to find the root cause of whatever is going on. And quite often, with the tools that we have available, sometimes we can't find even the best of Western medicine sometimes cannot find that because the tools aren't available. So, and the 7 keys, I'll start with the first key, which is love. And it doesn't sound very scientific, but actually love is the most healing power in the universe. And there are physiologic things that your heart and the power of love can do to help heal you. So many people that come to me, when they first come see me, they're hating their body, they're frustrated, they're angry, they're at the end of their long rope, and they're like, I don't know what to do. Well, the first thing is to start looking at where can love help you. So love for someone else, love for yourself, love in the relationship between your healer and you, like all ways of using love will help bring a healing energy in. So
I love that.
That's a great starting place.
Can I pause you for a second?
Of course. Yeah.
So our audience here is primarily midlife women. And
Yeah.
I think that can be such a volatile time for women, maybe in relationships that they currently have or ones that they've they've currently or recently let go of, or whether they may want to go on with another one, or their personal relationship with themselves. How often or how much, maybe a difficult answer for you to quantify, is love such a big piece of the trauma or the issue that someone's facing?
Well, interestingly, when I was 49, my ex-husband decided he didn't want to be with me anymore.
Wow.
And it broke my heart. And I think it's very common, actually. I was very upset, and I thought, I'm a practitioner. I know all this stuff. And my whole life fell apart. And so part of the reason love is the first key is because my healing was really based on finding love in not with someone else, but within myself, with the support of my friends and my chosen family and my patients and all of the people that were gathered around me to support me, including you. and that love finally healed me to the point where I was able to function again, because I nearly lost my business. There were other things that occurred, but it was challenging. So love is really important in this way. And, one of my when I first started giving talks about healing like this, I talked about how when you're in love, everything feels amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because you're flooded with this hormone called oxytocin. And oxytocin is the opposite of cortisol. And it gives you this feeling of joy. And no matter what you're doing, you feel good. I had this 67 or 68-year-old patient of mine who was diabetic and had all kinds of issues. And for several years, she came to me with everything that was going on with her. And then she fell in love with somebody. And all of her symptoms went away. I mean, it was sort of temporary, but all of her symptoms got better simply because she was flooded with this falling in love hormone. So,
okay,
yes,
I'm really going to take you on a detour for a minute.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza?
Yes. Yeah.
So
I love him. Yeah.
Do you buy into that? So listeners, I'm assuming a lot, because we're not going to go too far down this winding road, but do you buy into the fact that, for instance, this woman, we know, you saw it, you witnessed it, that you or I or anybody listening has the power to create those feelings in our body by our mind to
Yes.
have the same
Oh,
effect?
yes. Oh, yeah.
At any
And
moment.
there's science with this. The Heart Math Institute has been doing research for almost as long as I've been in practice, and in my area, or a little bit south of me, but they have a lot of science about what the heart does, what the power of love does. You can change your DNA with love.
Awesome.
Yeah, so
Okay.
for sure. Yeah.
So I can see that we could talk about this for an hour. So clearly you've already subscribed to the Coming Back Club and you didn't even know it. So I wanna make sure we honor all 7 and we get to the next one. So
Okay.
don't let me stop you too long.
Okay. So the second one is physical balance. And this is, of course, my specialty because I'm a doctor and I've been doing this Chinese and Western medicine for so long. But the idea is that when you have a mystery illness, there are certain key elements that if you work with those elements, you can heal from anything. And this has been my approach for all these years, even when I've had a patient who's had a mystery illness that I couldn't find the answers to. If you balance your hormones, your immune system, and your nervous system, your body will have the tools that it needs in order to heal. And so even when I don't have answers, I work on those 3 things. Person will start to get better because they've got the tools. And we have the innate intelligence to heal. I call it my triangle of wellness. We have the innate intelligence to heal. So if we provide the tools, our body will do what it needs to do, even if we don't find the answers. The diagnosis, So there's another element involved in the physical balance, and that is finding the root cause. And sometimes we don't find the root cause, but sometimes we do, or often we do. And also in Chinese medicine, hidden infections, like there's a huge book that's like 5,000 years old called The Yellow Emperor's Guide to Febrile Illness. And it's like this thick. So there's lots of infections that we don't know how to diagnose. Like COVID has been a very interesting experience because people get infections with COVID and we still don't know all the answers. And yet it's possible to heal from that, you know. And there are other viruses like shingles and Epstein-Barr virus and various other viruses that live in our bodies for long periods of time and cause hidden illness. And sometimes that is the root cause of something that's going on with somebody that nobody may have known. So that's the physical balance. You want me to go on to the third key?
Yeah, please.
So the third key is finding your own unique lifestyle. And it kind of bounces back and forth between the fourth key, which is listening to your body. There are certain things that, you know, there's a million ways to exercise. There's a million ways to diet. There's a million ways to have there's a million possible attitudes, but what's right for you? And as we know in midlife, it changes. So what you could do when you were 30, you can't do anymore. I had to figure that out the hard way too. It's like kickboxing is no longer something I can do. Learning to find your own unique lifestyle involves listening to your body. And how I teach people to listen to their bodies is really cool. I love this. As in Chinese medicine, there are all these symptoms and physical components to each organ that are different than Western medicine. I'll give you an example. The liver is the organ that regulates the smooth flow of energy in your whole body. It also regulates your menstrual cycles. So for women who have really severe PMS, the liver could be a problem. It opens up in your eyes, so it has to do with your vision, your ability to see. It deals with the emotion of anger and frustration. And it stores the blood. So again, it regulates the menstrual cycles and stores the blood. And it regulates the ligaments and tendons. I use this specifically because I'm a liver person myself. And when I told you I get injured a lot, it's because my ligaments and tendons are really friable. So when you have certain symptoms, if you look at the list of different things that each organ manages, you will learn, like if you have burning eyes, it might be that your liver's out of balance. If you have high blood pressure, because it regulates the smooth flow of energy in your whole body, it might be that your liver's out of balance. And those don't fit with Western medicine. So, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I have a question. So if we backtrack just a little bit to kind of belief systems and Dr. Joe Dispenza's work and the work that you do, based on what you just said, although there's physical truth and physical proof that you have that in the past you have been someone more prone to injury.
Yeah.
Right? Wouldn't it behoove you to say, in the past, I've been more prone to injury than say I get injured a lot?
Oh, that's a really good point.
Just a little coaching. Sure.
Thank you for that. Yes. In the past, until I started working with Deborah,
thank you.
I was prone to injury. Now I am not. Thank you. I'm going to just state that so that it's...
Universe, come back.
Look at
that.
me. Yeah. Look at me learning. Okay, so that's the learning to listen to your body, and learning to listen to your body is really key. And this is another thing I recently learned about myself. I was a surgeon for a few years, and then I was an ER doctor who worked night shifts, So I have learned in the past, I learned how to ignore my body. And so even though I notice a lot of different symptoms, I had not been noticing, or I had not been really paying attention to them. I had just been trying to override it. And it's one of my recent learnings, actually, to not override my own body, even though I teach people this for years now. I didn't do it myself.
Yeah, I love that. And
yeah.
yeah, and I love listeners to really grasp what she just said, because women are notorious at giving and listening, being the ears and the eyes for the bodies that they care for, more than listening to themselves, down to the very, not going to the bathroom when they need to, not eating when they're hungry, and whether it's because you're serving someone else, or even because you were trying to diet or lose weight, and ignoring the symptoms your body was telling you. We need to get back in touch with those signals are actually right and messaging us for a reason, working with them.
Exactly. Yeah. So the fifth key is emotions. And each organ in Chinese medicine has an emotional component. So I told you the liver's anger, the kidneys deal with fear, the digestive system, the spleen, it's called, it deals with the emotion of worry. The heart deals with the emotion of joy, but joy can also be excessive, where you can be kind of manic. And there's one more. Lungs deal with the emotion of grief. And by learning to listen to your body and learning what all the different organs do, then you also get to learn how the emotions affect it, and learning how to cope with that. And so each chapter, besides having all of the information, has tools that you can use to listen to your body and to practice dealing with your emotions and how to handle them and what to do with them. There's physical exercises and emotional exercises to do. And every chapter has for how to build love, how to find physical balance. So each chapter has this. Actually, I wrote a 75-page workbook for the book, so that if you buy it and you want the workbook, you can get that by sending an email to sign up for it. So,
fantastic!
Yeah, for free. So the sixth key is having patience and persistence. And this is where the hero's journey comes in. So anytime you have a challenge with your body, we often think of our body as something that should work like a car, right? We want our car never to give us any trouble. We want our body never to give us any trouble. So when your body gives you trouble, you're frustrated, what's going on? And we all are familiar with the idea that if we have difficulty with another human, like if we're a coworker or somebody in our relationship or a kid or anybody in our lives, we know it's a lesson on some level, right? We know that we have something to learn. Same with our body. Our body is a school, and learning to live in it, learning how to work with what's happening, is a part of possibly a deep spiritual journey. And so that having patience and persistence, and also never giving up, those two things go together in order to create this learning that might happen as a result of what you've been through. So many, and so many of these people as well, so many of our acquaintances and partners and friends are people who've gone through difficult health journeys and become healers.
True. Yeah.
I can name so many, but I won't right now. but it's a part of what's created who they are. And so part of that hero's journey, or not giving up, is this is your learning. If you're having a difficult time, find a way to be patient and to keep looking for the answers, because there are answers, and they might surprise you, and then you might end up teaching someone else about what you learned.
Yeah, I love that. So I want to go back to your journey from when you started. So you were in surgery, you were in the ER, and you were simultaneously then going through acupuncture school. But unless I missed it, so really no trauma there until maybe your trauma when your husband kind of started it.
I mean, I had a pretty wildly rough childhood. So, yeah. So plenty of trauma.
Okay.
Yeah. And I say I've had 3 midlife crises.
Okay. More than your fair share.
More than my fair share. The first one was when I was 27, when I realized I didn't want to be a surgeon and I didn't know what to do, because all of my life since I was 5, when I was 5, my great grandmother collapsed and died in front of me. And I had already lost my dad because my parents split when I was 3, and I never saw my dad again in my entire childhood until I was an adult. And then my great grandmother collapsed in front of me and she died. And so at age 5, I already had a significant amount of loss. But when I found out she died, the first thing I did was, wait, I got to fix this. I want to solve this problem. And that's when I started wanting to be a doctor, because I wanted to heal her. I wanted her back, right, in my life. She was my favorite person. She was the person who took care of me because my mom was single and working, and my grandma wasn't interested in kids. So my great grandma took care of me. And the first thing, my mom told me that her heart had stopped beating. The first thing I did was imagine a machine that would help her heart start beating again. And so my whole life I wanted to be a doctor because I wanted to save lives. So that's how I got into surgery, was because I was driven to save lives. And the first time I got to save a life was in the operating room. And then I realized that surgery wasn't the right thing for me because there was so much more going on. And my first midlife crisis was really having achieved all my goals in my first year of surgical residency and suddenly feeling like, what the hell is happening to me? Well, excuse my language.
It's all right. It's a family show, but listen, we're good.
What is happening to me? And I realized that all of my childhood traumas started to come back once I had achieved my life goals, which is not uncommon when you're around 27, So, so such a long story. I don't want to go into it right now, but that was the first time I started really questioning what did I really want to do and what did it mean and all of that stuff. So, and then my second midlife crisis was when I was 39 and one of my patients died. And he was my exact age. He was a few months older than me, I think. But he had cancer, and this doctor had told him, "You will be dead in 9 months." Which is just ridiculous. They didn't have a diagnosis, actually. They didn't know what kind of cancer that he had. They just found that he had cancer that was invading his lungs. And they couldn't find the root cause, but they told him, "You're going to die by 9 months from now. You'll be dead." And sure enough, he fell over dead the day before his due date. And it was so upsetting to me because I took it personally, and I really tried everything to help him that I could think of. And I think because he had been given this death date, he just he complied on some level. But also it taught me something about that I'm not God, for one thing. I can't make somebody live if it's not my job to make somebody live. So a lot of good things came out of that experience. And then the third one was when my husband said goodbye. So, yeah.
Wow. So looking back, is there anything, would you change something about those? I mean, do you feel like you've had a significant learning or breakthrough that's come from each of those?
Oh, yeah. I think each one was profound, and huge, and made me who I am today. And today I'm a better person, a stronger person, and able to love much more than I ever was before, so.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So, and I think part of being a healer is being able to love, being able to give that love in a healing manner,
So number 7,
Number 7 is trusting the process. So whatever journey you've been on, recognizing that it is a part of your path, the learning of what is meant to happen. And I know we have a hard time. I know I've had a hard time trusting sometimes, especially in the middle of the darkness, when it's difficult. It's hard to imagine that you might feel better someday. It's hard to imagine that life could be better someday, but trust that whatever path you are on, it's for a reason. So, and there's a lot of stuff in there about letting go of fear and, recognizing that you're much more than just a physical body and things like that. So.
Love it. Okay. So give me a couple scenarios. So who is an ideal candidate to read this book?
Well, somebody who's struggling with a mystery illness is kind of who this is targeted at. So there's, kind of the physical bouncing off place. But for me, what happened was that heartbreak that led me on this journey of, many layers, but on a journey of finding answers for myself and finding healing in every kind of way. I've also had numerous physical challenges of my own in the past.
Yay.
And so I'm an expert on all kinds of levels of like irritable bowel syndrome and perimenopausal and menopausal things. So, the things that most people come with is an array of symptoms that kind of all go together, which is their hormones are perimenopausal, so their hormones are not going well. Their emotions are upset. They're tired, wired, anxious, digestive issues, aches and pains in all kinds of places. And all of those things go together with a certain set of imbalances that I've dealt with for 28 years. And a lot of it's, I don't know if it's because we're women and women don't seem to get as much research time as other kinds of people. But there's a complex of symptoms that are very common for perimenopausal women, especially with our toxic world and with so many toxins, in our environment. So our hormones get out of balance more and they're harder to get into balance because of the toxins. So that's really my ideal person. It's a lot of women who come to me have autoimmune disease, Hashimoto's, being undiagnosed because nobody ever measures their antibodies to their thyroid,
Yeah.
So.
Fantastic. Okay. So talk a little bit about this. And I feel like we've talked about this within kind of going through each different points, but how does stress play a role in our chronic conditions, either in causing it or in the preventing or the slowing of the healing?
In every way.
Okay.
It's funny. I have a client right now who lives in Florida, and she has every symptom that I've talked about. She's wired and tired and anxious all the time, has digestive issues, has no ability to sleep, is constantly stressed and constantly feeling terrible, fatigued to the point where she can't function. But she's in a marriage that she hates. And she doesn't she doesn't want it. She wants it to be a physical thing. And I'm like, okay, it is a physical thing. Of course it's a physical thing, but it's also all these other things, these stresses that you've lived with. She grew up in a very difficult family with difficult childhood. I think she was one of 13 children. And I think she might have been the oldest, so she had to take care of all those kids, and so those stresses, not just current stresses, but past stresses, affect us hugely. There's this study that was called the ACE study, I forget what the A means, adverse childhood events study, done by Kaiser. like 30 years ago or something. And it showed that the more childhood events that you've had that were traumatic, the more prone you are to chronic symptoms, chronic illness, and healing it is more difficult, And then the current stresses that all of us are dealing with, depending on where we live, if it's forest fires or hurricanes or whatever climate change induced trauma we get from that. And like my community burnt down almost 4 years ago now. 6,000 homes were burnt in the course of one night. And it started in the middle of the night. So people had to escape their homes with no warning. Like that's trauma, that's stress, and then trying to rebuild their homes. And it took a while for people to recognize that they were traumatized. It's now through almost 4 years. Now people are saying to me, I have PTSD, and they recognize it, So yes, stress is an important factor.
Wow. I think we could probably dig into this topic so much longer, but while I have you here, let me ask this one question. So in regard to your book and the topic we've really been discussing, is there a question that I should have asked you that we didn't cover?
I think I covered a lot of stuff. So.
We did cover a lot of stuff.
But there is a tip I love to give. So if that's okay, I would love to give a tip for anybody who's struggling with their health.
Of course.
And that is really do start with love. Like if you're feeling frustrated and you're feeling like you don't know what to do with your body, start with love. And there's a million ways. Like sometimes it's hard for, especially we as women, for us to come and just say, I'm going to love myself. Like I certainly had a hard time with that, especially when I felt so rejected. So instead of love is like a boomerang, right? So if you put love out to someone else, it will come back to you. So even if you're not experiencing love within yourself, for yourself, if you love someone else, so if it's a child or a partner, or even if you give somebody in the line behind you at Starbucks a free cup of coffee, putting love out brings love back. So if you're struggling with that, that's my tip for today.
I love that. So, Shiroko, where's the best place for listeners to get more of you and learn more?
Well, you can go to hearttoheartmedicalcenter.com. And my book is available there, and there's a couple of free gifts. One is a chapter of my book called Hero's Journey. And at the very bottom of the homepage is a sample or a little book called Supplement Smart, how to choose supplements that will work for you. So both of those are options. And I also have a YouTube channel, Dr. Shiroko. And there's a lot of videos there now, including one with you.
Yeah.
An interview that I did with you. Yeah. So
fantastic. Okay. I love it. Listeners, if you have a question that I didn't answer, we didn't cover, you can leave it or your comment below the show notes. And just to prove that I was listening, that'll be at flipping50.com/love. So what are you waiting for? Let's start flipping 50 today.